Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Talks Talk. I have a very exciting guest today. I've got Garry, otherwise known as the brains behind Memorrhage.
Thank you for having me. Super stoked to be on here.
So, how's everything going? As far as I've been seeing a lot of positive feedback about the project so far. How's everything going?
Yeah. Wow, it's been really good across the board. Just it's been fun seeing all kinds of different responses towards it. Like people that were into new metal and got back into it, which I could say has kind of been my case, admittedly. Like got super back into it, and then people who were like not super into it, but they found things that they liked in the album a lot, which I was like, oh, the cool, thank you for listening. And they're like, it's gonna be on their, respective like album of the year type list type deal. And then even to the further end of that spectrum, the skeptics has been the probably the my favorite type of response, people who historically may have hated on new metal and still do, but they found common ground enough to enjoy Memorrhage. So across the board, it's been awesome seeing the responses.
I think as far as like the a bunch of the newer new metal bands,
Yeah,
Memorage definitely stands out.
thank
You
you.
you
Yeah.
have you have a unique sound where you're not trying to basically repeat what bands were doing in 1999.
Right.
You're not trying to do the new metalcore thing.
Hmm.
You're somehow a mishmash of all of it
Yeah.
while sounding true to yourself. Like
Thank
it's
you.
it's
Yeah.
very good.
That's kind of been and I think you hit the nail on the head, and it sort of reflects like just historically, I like so much stuff in music, so many different subgenres, so many different takes on those subgenres. And it all and new metal in general has always been a melting pot, which
Yeah.
I loved as a kid, and I've come to recent, or in the past year, find out that wow, it's an even bigger melting pot than I ever knew. So like that itself resonates with me big time. So I think that approach really showed itself, on this first album with, yeah, being a mix of everything that you mentioned. There's definitely nostalgic points of reference
Mm.
from the late '90s era, and then a bit of the new metalcore sound, both old and new, of that, like the early Chimera, and then like the newer, like maybe like Tala type branch of it. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the how the album came together and just if you look at your Bandcamp page, just the overwhelming amount of session musicians and guests you had on there.
Hmm.
Explain how all that came together.
Yeah. So let's see. Jogging my memory. So, which a bit of a pun. The very first song that I wrote was Memory Leak.
Mhm.
And this was last November 2022. And it was a very spontaneous moment that led me to writing and recording the song. At the time of making it, I did not have the idea to make a full-on album. Like so soon. But I was like, man, this is just like I'm swept up in my own nostalgia, and then like finding new bands and stuff like that in the community. So I quickly just like kind of drafted an idea of what the album was going to be like in November and December, and came up with like all the songs compositionally first, and then I knew I had some people in mind that I knew online to hopefully join on as guest vocals, DJs, all of that stuff. So all of the early part of this year was the a guest gathering stage of everyone that everyone you see on Bandcamp. So it was just like, okay, I got their piece of the pie now, and then and yours and yours and yours. So it was a bit of a puzzle piece to put together everyone on the end result. So yeah, it was fun. And a bit of a spoiler, that's sort of kind of how the next album is shaping up to be too, where it will be uh a bit of a community based thing with a bunch of guests again.
I look forward to that. And I also want to say that I'm very happy that another newer band is utilizing turntables
Yes.
because underutilized, and I missed it so much while it was gone.
Me too, and I didn't know that I missed it. And it's just like it's a unique texture in rock and metal music and aggressive music. Like it almost kind of fits like somewhere nebulously in between a lead vocal, percussion, and guitar noises, guitar solo, kind of, somewhere
Yeah,
all in that range, and it's very satisfying. Yeah.
a lot of I noticed that when a lot of new metal bands did not have guitar solos. It was very far and
Right.
few between. But
Yeah.
you would have the scratching
Yeah.
breakdown section, and that kind of took that void.
That fit. Yeah.
So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree. And it's fun. It just kind of fills a sonic space that otherwise you wouldn't get with really anything else.
yeah, there'd just be an emptiness.
Yeah.
And so tell me about let's go pre-Memorrhage.
Sure.
What sort of music were you first getting into? When you were first getting into music when you were younger?
Hmm.
Like tell me a young Garry, what were your
Yeah.
earliest influences?
Okay, so let's see. I think the very first thing that I latched onto musically um was like TLC,
Okay.
Snoop Dogg, and Green Day, and probably Nirvana. So kind of, that realm of that era in the early mid 90s,
Mhm.
just right before Corn, right before new metal. So like yeah, pretty much that. And it's funny because I tried to, I was a little kid, but I tried to buy CDs from like a CD, those old mailer catalogs that you could buy,
Oh,
like I
uh
forgot what they were called.
something house.
Yeah.
You get them for a
Man.
dollar.
Yep. Yeah. You buy them in bulk and stuff like that. But I was way too young, but we got them in the mail, so I'd flip through them. I'm like, oh, this looks cool. This looks really
Mm.
cool too. And I'd see like some metal stuff or popular metal stuff like Metallica and stuff like that. And I made a list because somehow my dad was like, pick 6 CDs and we'll buy them for you. And I picked like Metallica, and I think Nine Inch Nails, because my friend's older brother liked them, and I always thought the name was um kind of scary but interesting
I
as
get
a
that.
kid. Yeah. And I had a list and I handed it to my dad, and he picked me up from school and he was like, I'm sorry, Gary, we just can't get you these as you're a little bit too young for this. Because they had just got me like a boom box. So
Hmm.
they wanted, I wanted to get some CDs, but to no avail, I did not get any of those CDs
No.
until later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say yeah, like TLC, Snoop Dogg, um, yeah, Green Day kind of were the first musical acts that I was aware of and enjoyed.
Yeah, I very much had I didn't have any rock or metal friends when I was growing up, and I really
Okay.
didn't get into my own music like until 13 or 14. So
Okay.
my
Yeah.
influence was like pop and rap and like just the
Sure.
mainstream
Yeah.
stuff. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And
but
I
then,
liked that stuff too. Yeah. Like I
yeah,
I was into like Christina Aguilera a lot when she first came out. I was just like, what is this? This is like super catchy.
yeah, I got no beef with that. No,
Yeah.
I still have a heavy nostalgia for like, because I was coming into my own at like in like 97, 98,
Sure.
and
Okay.
like, so
That's
yeah, so
basically for me too.
so
Yep.
I have a lot of nostalgia for those. Like, I don't care if it's pop. I
Yeah.
nostalgia for it.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah.
So, when did you get into making music? Like, what?
Hmm.
Did you get a guitar at an early age? Your parents' influence, something like that?
Okay, so I would say bass guitar was the first instrument that I got that I was attached to. I'll preface with that I learned trombone a little bit and piano
Mhm.
as a young kid, but I didn't like love those instruments. They were more for like, oh, my parents, I'll put Gary in school and learn this stuff. Um, but I didn't really start wanting to compose or like come up with my own creativity in music until I got a bass guitar, and I think that was I want to say late 2000, or maybe early 2001, in that range. And I I took bass lessons for maybe about a year and a half, and then after that, I just relied on like looking up tabs online or just noodling around myself, just seeing what I could do and get better at the instrument.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
So what would have been your first, this is probably many years later, what would have been your
yeah.
first proper band?
Ooh, okay, so this was 2004. I'm in high school now, my junior year, and me and my friends. So this is kind of the first year that I would consider kind of a post new metal phase,
Mhm.
where I'm like dipping into black metal, death metal, grind, what have you. Um, and me and my friends started a black metal band that was really raw and super naive called Gastra Proxima, and I don't think it exists anywhere online. I'm sure it's on some people's hard drives through SoulSeek and stuff like that. But yeah, I think we definitely had a couple demos. We had we did make a full length, and then we played, I think, 3 or 4 shows, and they were pretty cool. It was fun. A good like stepping stone learning experience, I would say.
Did you do the corpse paint thing?
We did. Yeah, we
Awesome.
did. Yeah, we had to. Yeah, just like we were like, what is it? Like, we're getting into Dark Throne and Mayhem and Emperor and all, all that.
It's
And
a
we were
rite of
just like,
passage.
the rite of pass. Yeah, you nailed it. Yeah, rite of passage. And so we were just like, well, let's do it ourselves. Yeah.
That's very cool. And this was this all in Texas?
Yes, yeah, yeah, it was. And I'll say I'm originally from California,
Hmm.
Southern California, and then moved to the Dallas area in 96, summer of 96. Yeah.
That's very cool. Yeah, I've unfortunately never been to Texas. I've been to very
Okay.
sporadic places in the US.
Yeah.
Yet I've been to Oregon. But that was for work. But
I never have. I've always wanted to check it out. I've been to Seattle, but never been to Oregon before.
never been to Seattle. We went to one of the lower parts of Washington. I think it was Olympia.
Okay,
But it was
cool.
super pleasant. Like Oregon was very nice.
Nice.
All the towns except for Portland felt like they were stuck in like 1960. But
Oh wow.
everything was
Yeah.
like mom and pop shops. It was great.
That's actually pretty cool. I somehow didn't expect that, but it does make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, but Portland was like completely like modernized as you
Right.
would expect.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, going forward a little bit, what are your current plans for the second Memorrhage album?
Yeah. So I have essentially 11 songs again, like
Mhm.
the first, planned, and I would say as of last night or early this morning, I have all 11 songs fully composed.
Oh,
Yeah, not fully done, obviously, but the song structure, those are all, yeah, that's all done.
okay.
We'll say that's like the first stage. And even like all the guitars are recorded and bass. Some of the vocals are recorded just because I need them as a placeholder, and I can uh listen to them back and be like, oh, no, I want to change this down the road or something like
Understandable.
that. So yeah, that's kind of, I'm in that early stage. And I guess like moving forward with the plans, like I said, definitely going to gather some guests. I have kind of how shall I say it? Kind of a bucket list goal, maybe for this album, maybe for a future Memorage album. But I would really love to get someone of the original like new metal wave in some capacity as a guest. Top choice would be like Max Cavalera, like his Soulfly
That would be
era.
that would be great.
It would be insanely cool. I have no idea how to reach out to him respectfully, properly, but that's a goal. But other than that, it's going to be a communal friend, close knit guest list again. Maybe some people who I've just recently become friends with who found me through Memorage, and like I think they might be interested in joining on as a guest. And after that, um, probably will do a vinyl release again, all three CD, tape, and vinyl. And as far as when, definitely a 2024 release, most likely around this time next year, is what I would aim for. Yeah.
Sounds good. Are there plans to do anything? Because I know, based on what you've been saying, a lot of this has been constructed by you.
Mhm.
Have there been any thoughts as to turning it into a live act, or are you not there?
Um, that's a great question, and some people have nudged me and asked me about it. I'll say it's not there yet, and I don't know when it would. I won't shut the door on the opportunity if it arises.
Hmm.
I guess kind of the big thing is my work schedule can be a bit erratic. I work from home,
Hmm.
and sometimes it can be like a little on call to where I have to be. I work at like this desk in this room,
Hmm.
and so sometimes I have to like jump on something that's pressing. I don't necessarily do IT work, but it's all computer based, like stuff behind the scenes for a company's website and like inventory management system type stuff. So with that said, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, it
Okay.
would be really cool to do because I do have some friends who are interested in like filling the roles, the like being a drummer for the live lineup and stuff like that. That
And those
getting like the DJ setup would be really interesting to do. So yeah, we'll see how far I can take that.
those are good friends to have. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
are on the topic of the second album, kind of.
Mm,
Are there styles that you have not touched on with the first album that you plan to try and implement
ooh,
either on this coming one or a future one? Are we going to get a synth pop album?
yes. Yes, I would say yeah. Um, I'll say to that second point there, there's definitely gonna be a new metal synth pop song, all out synth pop song on the
Yes,
second one. Like think kind of a bit more upbeat orgy, Dead Z style,
I
mixed
could
with
vibe with that.
like Godflesh vocals. It's wild. Like heavy guitars, obviously, and then really catchy choruses with synth. Um and other than that new influence for this project, I would say there's going to be a bit of death metal flourishes throughout, more in the riffing style, just poking through here and there, and some death metal vocals to mix it up. I would say overall there's going to be a lot more vocal variety,
Mhm.
just getting crazy with it, throwing more into the melting pot, as new metal is.
Yeah, no, which is great to see. Also, wanted to it's the one of the only times I've ever heard new metal styled music with the vocals having a heavy nod to Barney Greenway from mid 90s Napalm Death.
Oh, yeah.
Like diatribes inside the torn,
Hmm.
like that style vocal, I heard it all over the album and
Thank
I
you.
loved
Yes.
it.
Man, you're the first one to bring that up. And a lot of people say that, oh man, this is like very Slipknot self-titled, which obviously is a big influence,
Yeah.
but like vocally especially. But I kind of in my head, like I reach when I'm doing those kinds of vocals, I'm thinking of like the roar, the shout of those 90s Napalm Death vocal style and production even. Kind of like it's very expressive and it's all, from the chest. Um
Yeah, because he
and they're
wasn't
super fun to do.
at that time he wasn't really doing the death growl thing. Yeah, he was just shout.
Right.
It was
The
almost like
shout.
a death metal take on a hardcore shout. It was interesting.
That's
But
perfectly on point. Yeah,
but
because like,
I love those
hardcore,
albums.
very expressive kind of vocals,
Yeah.
passionate, and then but death metal is a little more subdued, monstrous even.
Yeah.
So he hit that vibe that's like perfectly in between. And yeah, I would say like I really wanted to channel that because I love those kinds of vocals. They're a
Yeah, I do
perfect
too.
middle ground. Yeah. There
Yeah,
will be more of that for sure. Still. Yeah.
very good. So I feel I recall seeing on your Twitter.
Mhm.
Are you a gamer as well?
A little bit. I would say I'm a huge appreciator of games.
Hmm.
Although I wouldn't say I'm a good gamer, but I do love video games for sure. I think lately, maybe past 4 or 5 years, I've realized like, man, I'm just like I can't finish this game or this or that game. So music has really taken up a lot of my time to where I haven't quite caught up with like new games and stuff. But I try to play, new games every time that I can get a chance.
Very cool. The reason I had brought it up was because some of the music from the Memorrhage album
Yeah.
does remind me a tiny bit of some of the Mick Gordon stuff from the Doom games.
Ooh. Yeah. No, that's
And
a really good point.
so I was wondering if there was ever a potential for maybe you working with a game studio down the road at some point. Like for something that was
Ooh,
either metal oriented, or if you wanted to get
right.
synthy, it could be dark.
Yeah. Um, Honestly, that would be kind of a dream too. Like in either of those directions, if it was more heavier metal direction, or synth, almost purely synth based, electronic based, or a mix of the two. Um, yeah, I think that would be really fun. Gaming studios, hit me up. I'm always ready to write. Give me a prompt, what have you. That would be really cool to do.
Another sound that I heard a lot on the Memorrhage album, which I don't know if was intentional.
Mm,
Um, are you a pitch shifter fan?
hugely,
Okay,
yes.
so
Yeah.
the various drum and bass elements, I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
it's like uh kind of a Napalm Death fronted new metal band with pitch shifter elements and
Yeah,
like some Fear
yep,
Factory riffing here and there.
a little bit. Yeah, the choppy palm muted
Yeah.
intricacy that they do. Yeah, yeah, definitely all of that. And it's cool that you mentioned that because Pitch Shifter, I would say, was maybe one of the first like aggressive bands that I got into in like the late 90s from a friend that had the mix of like electronic elements in rock and metal. It was like I was enamored with it. I was like, this is different. This is cool. Like I wasn't sure how to process it, but I was into it. And so them and like Static X were intertwined as like the first bands that I got into that, industrial and rock and metal mixed together.
Yeah, Static X definitely threw me for a loop the first time I heard it. I was like,
Yeah.
I've like because I had at that point I was listening to a number of the industrial rock bands. Like I had Nine Inch Nails, Marilyn
Yeah.
Manson, Stabbing Westward,
Right.
but there was something different about Static X that
There
I hadn't
was. It
heard
kicked
yet.
it up a notch. Hmm.
Yeah, and then but now like going back and listening to industrial metal, like proper industrial metal, like
Yeah.
Godflesh, early Fear Factory, it's
Right.
like, oh, I get it. I get where they got it from.
Yeah.
It's
The the,
it's
the
almost like the
lineage.
subdued version of it. Like it's not as
Yeah.
aggressive, but
Right.
it's more streamlined. And I mean, for a gateway band, I appreciate them a lot.
Definitely. Yeah. And it's cool to see like their progression too. Like from the like Fear Factory and Godflesh type of sound, like you said, yeah, more streamlined. And I think yeah, Pitch Shifter kind of, although it's funny because it started out a bit of a Godflesh clone,
Yeah,
kind of, but
yeah.
I
The
like it.
first album or so.
Yeah, and they sort of jumped ship from that and forged their own unique pathways into what they became, which
Yeah,
is cool. Yeah,
their middle section is ridiculous. When
yeah,
they weren't quite streamlined. They weren't quite like
yeah.
mainstream sounding yet, but they
Right.
still had the industrial. I can't remember the name of the album. Um,
Was it
Infotainment.
infotainment?
Yes,
Yeah, that one's
the
cool. Yeah.
yeah, because it has the heaviness, but it also has like it's more accessible. But
Hmm.
I remember being very thrown off and intrigued by the fact that they had real drums and also the loops playing at the same time.
Yes.
And I was like,
Yeah.
this is crazy.
And that's a big influence on me, um especially in Memorrhage because, well, okay, so I'll say the the metal drums, they are programmed, but
Mhm.
they obviously are emulations of real, like they're sampled real drums,
Yeah.
but and then I utilize that throughout most of the songs, but then I throw in the obvious fake electronic drums mixed in. So it's like I like them both. Like I want the best of both.
Yeah, which is a great combination.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
So what is what are your feelings toward between using practical real instruments and then like virtual instruments?
All totally all about virtual instruments. I would say for me to an extent. Like I probably won't ever do like a virtual electric guitar or virtual electric bass only because they're super fun for me to play a real guitar and real bass.
Yeah.
Especially bass because there's just like so much of the funk and groove in it, the nuances. And I'm sure there's programs out there that do capture that really well, but it takes the fun out of it, actually playing them. Obviously with drums, like I can't play the real or a real drum set the way that I program them. But with that said, they're probably my favorite instrument to listen to in at least in rock and metal. It's like I love hearing all the fills and like cymbal intricacies and snare ghost notes, all that kind of stuff, or just simple grooves. So I like to say that I have a pretty good ear for that, and that kind of helps me utilize the virtual drums as best as I can.
Awesome. So what are your thoughts on the current resurgence of the like basically the new wave of new metal essentially?
Right, yeah. And it's so crazy to hear that, but it's here, obviously. I love it. All the things that I've heard and gotten into kind of just in the past year and a half ish, I've liked it all, kind of the pretty much the whole spectrum. Um, like Tala has been like one of my favorites. I was really shocked at like what they were doing. Um, just all the mixtures that they do. And then also from this year, Graphic Nature, kind of along the same vein, a little maybe a little more streamlined than Tala, but I really like them a lot. And oh, from last year, I would say it was probably my favorite metal album last year was Dot BHP or BHP from Poland.
Oh yeah, the
Love
female fronted
them.
one. They're good.
Yeah, they're really cool. They caught me by surprise. I love their aesthetic, their mixture of sounds in within new metal. So yeah, I'm liking everything that I've been hearing from the new wave.
It's been nice to see it like growing again.
Yeah, it's wild.
Like I have regular conversations with Sean, the guy who runs the new metal subreddit,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
he's
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and it's been nice to see like an active community again that isn't just we're talking about Taproot
Right.
and Slipknot again. Although
Right.
I guess in some cases we are because they're releasing new stuff.
True.
But
But it's not just that. Yeah.
yeah, and it's not just a nostalgia pop anymore. Like there are these new
Right.
bands holding like trying to reignite that flame, which I am super happy to see.
Me
I'm
too.
I
It's
mean, I
cool.
may not love all of them,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
if it pushes the genre, go for it. Like
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm yeah 100% with you there. Yeah.
yeah, I know I haven't heard Graphic Nature. I like there's Zone Zero is a good one who
Ooh, I I haven't heard. Do they have a full album out yet,
I
or
think it's just a couple of
a
EPs.
couple EPs? Okay, I think I heard one of the EPs and I did like it. So I need to revisit them again and kind of get more accustomed with what they're doing. But I do remember because I think I saw someone posted the name and I was like, man, that name is so new metal. I got to
Yes.
check it out.
Yeah, it was
So yeah, I got to check them out more deeply.
it's mostly them 13 or XII and then I can't remember the third one. Uh Dead is pretty good. The DED.
Okay. DED, yeah. I think I was recently turned on to them because they have I think the vocalist from that older new metal band Half Gain.
Yeah, that's what yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. I do like them.
So who are some of your favorite bands from the old school sense of new metal?
Yeah. Gotta go with Korn for sure, of course. I would say they were my first favorite band, like growing up.
Mhm.
And kind of it's come full circle where I can say that again now. So them, early Slipknot, I love the self-titled a lot. And Iowa, Crossbreed, huge band.
Love Crossbreed.
Synthetic Division. I know we talked about it a little bit on Twitter, but they deserved their flowers, and they didn't break through. I wish they
They
did.
three tries and they never got their flowers.
Man, I know, and it's really surprising because they had that perfect mixture of the electronics, industrial element, catchy songs,
And they
and but
had the
still heavy.
look.
They had the look down
Yeah.
100%. They had, yeah, like I said, like before, they had it all. So yeah, I will always champion them. They were always still a favorite. Let's see. I would say Chimera, even though just that album, Pass Out of Existence, I
Hmm.
love that album a lot. I know they moved on to kind of more of the that new wave of the
New wave
groove,
of American heavy
yeah,
metal.
American heavy metal sound, which I did like that too back then. But Pass Out of Existence is a top one for me. Um, and then also Spineshank. Gotta mention Spineshank. Huge fan of them. And man, there's just so many favorites. I could say maybe like one more solid, like top tier favorite for me is I would say um Mudvayne LD50. I do love that album a lot. And I know
Makes sense.
a lot of people think that that album is a bit long, and I actually do agree with that. However, the brightest spots on that album are some of my favorite moments in new metal. So that gives them a little bit more weight for me. And the bass thing, which if people haven't heard Memorrhage yet, there's a lot of their bass influence on some of the slap and pop style and
That is
stuff like that.
definitely something that is audible.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to make that audible and like almost referential to where like, oh, this guy likes Mudvayne, or like LD50 for sure. So yeah, kind
Yeah,
of a bit of a spectrum there.
as I say, yeah, you can hear the pocket grooves you do with the bass, like
Yeah,
that kind of give it more life than it would if it was just kind of aimlessly following the guitar riffs.
right.
It has
Yeah.
a life of its own, which is nice to hear.
Thanks. Yeah. And I also still like, when bass does kind of do the blend into the background when needed, when necessary, if
Yeah,
maybe.
it doesn't need to always be
Yeah,
active.
doesn't always need to be going crazy. So I like to keep a balance and ride the wave as I'm like writing the songs. I'm like, oh, this part needs to, or this bass part needs to take a step back a bit and let something else do the talking. Yeah.
Now, you said at a point you were starting, like post new metal, you were starting to get into death and black and grind.
Mhm.
Like, do you still listen to a lot of those bands? What are some of your favorites from those genres?
Yeah. I would say I still do. Maybe not in the very recent history, but it's always like kind of imprinted in my memory. Like I love Dismember, Cynic, Death, Atheist, and I would say like Immolation. Immolation's been a huge, still a top 10 band for me, favorite band. And then
Immolation
like,
has some of my favorite death metal vocals because they're
oh,
almost discernible.
yes. And yeah, oh man, that's a great point. And I think that's why they've stuck with me because like the music itself it's not like super technical, but it's atypical to a lot of death metal.
It's unhinged.
Unhinged, very,
Yeah.
yeah. And to have vocals that are almost discernible, it's a great complement to that unhinged instrumental nature that they've got going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, it gets stuck in your head. A lot of the like vocal patterns and stuff, like "Father, you're not a father," like that
I
song.
love Close to a World Below.
So good. Yeah.
There's a few bands from the death metal world who do that, and I love, like Vader does that, where
Ooh, yes.
you can understand the vocals and it makes them somehow more evil
I
because they
agree.
sound horrifying, but you
Yeah,
can understand
but you
them.
know what they're saying, and it's like
Yeah.
they're coming for you. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, I do agree. But yeah, so I would say like some other favorites among the like Death, Black, and Grind. So I would say Ulver. Obviously, I love all of their eras and shifts and genre changes. But like obviously, I love their early black metal albums. I would say those are my favorite black metal albums.
I got
Um,
into those after I heard
oh,
like
did
because I heard
well,
my
actually, I did
first
too.
over was Shadows of the Sun, which is
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah,
like which so then when I heard they were a black metal band, I'm like, they're not a black metal
before,
band.
yeah.
And then I heard the albums, I'm like, Oh, they were.
They were. Yeah,
Okay.
that's so funny because my trajectory was similar. I'll backtrack it a bit, which also is another band that I can add to this discussion of a list. Arcturus, which Garm
Yes.
from Ulver was in. I remember had to be like too late 2003, yeah, or early 2004. But basically in my post new metal phase where I'm in this era of discovering other stuff that I had no real idea about. So Arcturus was one because I just loved the description about them. Like, it said like avant-garde symphonic metal. I was like, well, what is that?
Yeah.
And the Sham Mirrors was the first album I heard of theirs. Still love that album. And back then I was digging around on Metal Archives, so you see all the members and you see
Mhm.
all their other projects. I'm like, okay, what is Ulver? Okay, so I download I can't remember how exactly it's pronounced, but it's the soundtrack they did lycanthropin themes or lycanthropin themes,
Oh,
where
I
it's
yeah,
just
I know what you're talking about.
yeah, and it's all ambient. So that
Yeah.
was literally the first music I heard of them, and I was like, this isn't even rock. Like this
Yeah.
isn't even, there's no guitars even, but I liked it. And I was like, okay, I guess I need to see what's going on with their earlier discography. And so I worked my way backwards and I was like, oh, okay. So they were like pretty genre shifting catastrophically into, electronic and ambient and
Yeah.
so forth. So yeah, Ulver, huge um fan of them. I would say like, let's see, in kind of the grind world, which I would say there's a hint of that influence in Memorrhage. Not super noticeable, but it's there. The Swedish band Nasum, because they had a lot of like groove parts. I would almost even say like they had some straight up new metal parts. They would never have admitted it.
Yeah. Just like
But
Napalm Death would have never admitted they
same, yeah,
had new metal
exactly.
stuff, but they did.
Yeah, but they did. And you can add that to this list too. So yeah, like Napalm Death, especially that like 90s era, groovy era, and Nasum and Rotten Sound, another Swedish
Rotten
grind.
Sound is ridiculous.
Ooh, I'll say they are the most intense live performance I've ever seen. It was extremely heavy, so much bass, but so much precision. It was just floored me. Yeah. So, and I would say, yeah, like all of that, all of those mentions are kind of among my favorites and kind of the more extreme end of things.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun when I was first getting into it, which strangely enough was around the same time like I started to branch off from like I was like, what's not on the radio? And
Yeah.
I also had Soul Seek. I had friends who
Yep.
would send me things, sent me a lot of things that I was not ready for yet.
Sure.
But yeah, like because I remember early on dipping my toes in extreme metal and
hmm
because thinking Slipknot was really heavy, and
Right.
then hearing Cradle of Filth, Dimmu
Oh man, I
Borgir.
missed on that. That's another good. Both of those, yeah, those are big gateways for me. Yeah, for
Yeah, because
sure.
I was like, and then and then to learn that everyone hates them, and I was like,
I know.
why does everyone hate them?
I was bullied for being a huge fan of Cradle of Filth in high school.
I've been a
Yeah,
Cradle of Filth fan since '03, and I refuse to relent.
you keep on going. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Dimmu fell off, but like
I agree. I agree.
um,
Yeah, sadly,
but I can still if a new Cradle of Filth album comes out, I'll check it out.
I always check. Yeah, yeah, 100% with you.
Were you an Immortal fan?
I was, and I got into them. Yeah, obviously, like after Cradle and after Dimmu, and even after Dark Throne and Mayhem, I was a surprisingly a bit of a late comer to Immortal. I don't know why. I think it was because like my friend, we both got into black metal like literally at the same time from our new metal phases.
Mm-hmm.
And he like jumped super high on Emperor and Immortal, and I jumped super high on like Cradle Dimmu, and then like yeah, Arcturus, Ulver, and
The more symphonic ones.
yeah, more symphonic spoke to me, I guess, just because of the Cradle of Filth gateway. And then he finally put me onto Immortal, burned me some CDs. I was like, oh, well, this is cool too. Okay, yeah, I'm into it. Yeah.
I was initially I love Immortal now. I
Yeah.
was initially turned off of Immortal because
Oh, okay.
the one thing that I knew of them was that viral video that goes around from the first album where they're in the
Yeah.
forest and the witches, and I'm like, this sounds
Yep.
terrible.
You
And they're
know,
like, this is
I
Immortal, and
agree.
I'm like, oh, I don't
I
want
did
this.
have that same thought too, on
But
initial
then,
listen.
but then a friend of mine was like, no, they're really good. And I'm like, I don't know. And then he showed me At the Heart of Winter, and I was floored. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is the same band.
This is the same. Yep. That, yeah,
Okay,
it's funny.
because this
They
is
got like
majestic.
a lot. Exactly. Majestic, heavier, a little more precision, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a lot of people won't even call it black. I still call it black metal, but a lot of people are like, no, it's
Right.
thrash. I'm like, oh,
No, no, it's still
it
black
feels
metal.
like,
A variant of it for
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
But I had a weird jumping. I don't even remember how I found them, but
Hmm.
when I was big in Cradle of Filth and Dimmu Borgir, I found this Italian symphonic black metal band called Graveworm.
Dude. Okay. Yes.
So
I
like
saw them once.
I just found their albums and I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I got into them when like the next album that they came out with, I was like, oh, I don't like this as much. And then it was a falling off point, but the early stuff's
Oh
amazing.
man. Yeah, man, that's a band I haven't thought of and revisited in a long time. I'll have
They
to
are still going
check them
because
out
I know
again.
they released
Really?
something either this year or late last year.
Oh, wow. Okay, I had no idea.
I
Yeah,
didn't
that they were
either
still
until it
going.
popped up. And it was like Grave
Interesting.
Worm. I was like, oh, okay, good for
That's
them.
wild. Good on them for keeping it going. Yeah.
Yeah, like I've had weird experiences with being shown certain bands and
Yeah.
them having an infamous like reputation. The
Mm,
first I remember early on being warned about a band called Burzum,
right. Oh yeah.
and
Yeah,
they're like,
same.
"Stay away from Burzum." I was like, "What's up with Burzum?" So the thing is, I just blindly went at Burzum, and I was like, "I don't know." So the album I picked up was the first Prison album. So
Okay, the ambient one?
the yeah, the Dungeon Synth one.
Dungeon Synth one. Yeah.
So I was like, I I don't get it. I was like, I like it. I don't get why I'm supposed to be worried about this.
Yeah.
And then I learned all of then I learned the
The
backstory
past.
and everything, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh okay. So I musically, and I've heard the black metal stuff now.
Yeah.
And musically I do like Burzum. Just
Yeah.
the person, a little different.
No, yeah, no, I totally feel you there. And it's funny because like I think I remember similarly having that experience too. Only because like my friend who I was kind of getting into black metal together with, he bought the Lords of Chaos book and he like let me borrow it after
Mm.
he read it, and I was like kind of like trying to soak all of that in. Um and it's still, I think, well, as a kid back then, a lot of it just like blew over my head. I'm like, I don't even know like what is going on in this whole genre and history. So I think reading that book made me like, I don't know if I'm gonna like fully delve into this band or this project. I think I did a little bit, but I never got like fully invested. But
It's
yeah, yeah,
it's overall there it's fine.
yeah. Okay,
It's
yeah.
nothing mind-blowing.
Right.
There are some songs where I'm like, "Oh, he's really really good."
Yeah.
And then the rest of the album I'm like, "Oh, he spent all of his ability on that one song."
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Um
That's funny.
like there's one called it's the one with the cover where the guy has the horn.
Oh,
Philosophum, I think.
okay.
But the
Yeah.
first song is amazing. And then the
Okay.
rest of the
Yeah.
album just kind of falls.
A teeter
Um
down. Yeah.
yeah. So I was like, oh, okay. So he has moments.
That's funny.
Um, yeah. No. What are your feelings on? I don't know why I'm just randomly naming bands.
No,
Feelings on
yeah.
Agalok.
Ooh. Um, yeah, no, I got super huge into them. Especially with um gosh, Pale Folklore.
Pale
Um,
Folklore is great.
and due to the proximity is not the right word, but similar sound-ish to like the early Ulver, like the folkish kind of stuff with black metal and like a little kind of doomish gothic metal, gothic rock kind of sound. And I was like enamored with it. Because around that same time I was super into like Catatonia, and
Love Catatonia.
great, great band, great overall discography and sounds. But yeah, like Agalog kind of felt like a sort of bridge between those two, kind of, but with their own spin on things. So I was like super high on Pale Folklore, The Mantle. I forget the name of the EP they had, I think in between those or around that
The
same
White.
time. That's it. Yeah. Man, I haven't listened
That
to that in
one's
a
just
while.
like completely focused. Yeah, I was absolutely in love with Agalok
Yeah.
up through uh when I don't remember which came first, if it was the White EP or Ashes Against the Grain. But
Okay. Yeah.
after those I kind of fell off a little bit, but those first four things are amazing.
I think Ashes may have been the last one I like first of all bought and then like fully like engrossed myself with. But yeah, I think after that, like whatever full lengths came after that, I don't think I've heard them.
There's two. There's something
Okay.
missing in both of them.
Okay.
However, he formed the singer after Agalok broke up, and I guess they've
Uh-huh.
reformed now.
Okay.
He formed another band called Pelorian, and
Okay.
Pelorian sounded like the actual spiritual successor to
Wow.
Ashes Against the Grain and the Mantle. Like,
Interesting.
so it was the
Huh.
set, and so I was in love with that, and then yeah, so then those all fell apart.
I'll have
But
to check that out. I do remember seeing that name. Yeah, kind of like after around that time that they I guess initially broke up. Yeah. I'll have to check that out.
I just remember the weird influence at that time of like Agalok came
Hmm.
around and there was Ulver, and as you
Yeah,
said, Catatonia, but then
right.
all of a sudden there was all these post black metal bands
There
who
were.
were kind of just doing that thing like Alcest and Les Discrets, and
Hmm.
they were good, but there was a
Yeah.
lot of then it started to become
Oversaturated, maybe?
oversaturated, like almost cool to do it, like hipstery. It was
Oh, yeah.
weird, and I didn't like it.
And it's funny. I felt still feel the same way. And I was into that sound around that time. Yeah, mid 2000, mid late 2000s or whatever. And
Hmm.
I had a project called Parabstruse and a solo project, and it was let's see, I only had two demos and then like a full length, like an EP or whatever. But like the first two demos were literally like black metal meets like post rock kind of shoegaze. It was more of like, but like Arcturus style black metal mixed with like the post rock guitar, clean guitar kind of stuff, not necessarily like the Agalok Agalokian way of black metal.
Hmm.
So I was definitely enamored with that mixture back then, and it was fresh, it was exciting. But I do agree that it kind of got a bit too oversaturated and maybe yeah, too cool to do.
No,
But
no good things can be left alone.
yeah.
Uh, because of some of the sound that was on it's on the Memorrhage album, and because
Hmm.
you just mentioned you like black metal,
Yeah.
were you into any of the industrial black metal bands like
Ooh,
Dotham's Guard and Aberim and Black Lodge? And I'm
yeah.
forgetting any other ones.
And Oceans.
Yes.
Yeah. I was. And so that was sort of my second wave of bands, not second wave black metal, but my second, tier of bands getting into like going down deeper the hole
Mhm.
was the industrial black metal side. And I was like, whoa, okay, this is like another beast. I was like, I didn't know you could do this like that well. And so
They were
yeah.
like, black metal isn't noisy
Yeah.
enough. Make it noisier.
Noisier with synthetic instruments. And I was
Yeah.
like, this is wild. That's kind of cool. Yeah. So I was definitely into that style.
Excellent. Um, so is there any what else sorry. What other sort of hobbies do you have outside of music?
Let's see. I would say probably my biggest hobby outside of music would be the card game Magic the Gathering. Been a
Hmm.
huge fan of that. I will say I'm relatively a late comer to it, like late 2016. Um, but I've always known about it like since the early 2000s, just from friends in like school and stuff. They would play it, but I never really fully got into it, yeah, until like 2016. I even got into it in terms of joining a competitive team, like competing
Oh,
in like big tournaments, yeah, local big tournaments, stuff like that, or even like where like these like tournament circuits would pass through, and whenever there was one in Dallas or Dallas Fort Worth area, I would almost always try to make it a point to go and compete. Um, and it's funny I say compete because that hobby during many years, 2016 till about like 2021, was competing with like music, just because there's so much like brain bandwidth that goes into that card game. It's so
yeah.
complex, and you have to keep up with like meta games and like changes and all that kind of stuff. So I would say it kind of has taken a back burner, still into it, but you could say it's like clearly like a second hobby next to music. Other than that, I would say like photography mildly. I used to be very into photography in like the early mid 2000s or mid to late 2000s, I should say.
Mhm.
Like after like college. But I kind of took a bit of a backseat on that, but I still try to like dip my toes into that hobby every once in a while. But yeah, that and then other than that, like sci-fi horror movies, that stuff to just like
Brilliant.
take the edge off at night, just lay in bed and watch old sci-fi or find some new ones and stuff like that. Yeah.
What are your favorite movies of that style?
Big one would definitely be like Alien and Aliens. Terminator 2 for sure. I know that's a big popular favorite, but yeah, it's still one of my favorites. Um, Event Horizon. I love that movie. It's a bit of a sleeper pick.
That
Although I think
movie
it's
messed me up when I was a kid.
same for me. And yeah, I remember the first time I watched it. I think I was at a friend's house and they rented it, yeah. And they put it on and it was late at night and I was like, guys, this movie's like fucking me up.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's pretty fucked up. But yeah, to this day, it's still become a huge favorite. Um, let's see. Um, I would say Scanners has kind of been and
I've never seen Scanners.
I was about to say it's a recent favorite. I know it's an older movie, but I didn't watch it until maybe a couple of years ago ish. And I was like, man, I've been sleeping on this movie. I recommend it. Yeah, if you whenever you get the chance, check it out. It's really good. The Fly, with
That's
Goldblum,
another
Jeff
one that
Goldblum.
I've been told to watch like a dozen
Oh,
times. I've never seen.
oh, it's really good. Definitely in the like sci-fi meets horror for sure, but I like that one a lot.
That's Goldblum, right?
Yeah, yeah, Jeff
Yeah.
Goldblum. I feel like it's his breakout movie from the 80s, like right before Jurassic Park. Um, but yeah, I love that one.
I remember that
Trying-
one being described as very body horror.
yes, it is. Yeah. I would say that's like one of the best descriptive terms for it for sure. Yeah. And on that note, kind of a bit of a segue to like some of my favorite movies of that, like Hellraiser first two. Actually, I even really liked the third Hellraiser. Um,
Those movies threw me when I first saw them because like
Same.
I wasn't so much scared of them. I was just the whole time
Yeah,
I was like, this is gross.
exactly.
Stop
Yeah,
it.
and the like the visuals, the practical effects, which I sorely miss and
Yeah.
appreciate when newer movies do have practical effects,
Yeah.
like The Void from a few years
The Void
back.
is really good.
Yeah, and
The
yeah,
Void kind of messed me up too.
it did me
Like
too.
it
Yeah.
just kept getting worse and worse.
The elevation of horror that it
Yeah.
kept, yeah, just it just kept getting worse. And yeah, like it has some of the body horror vibes, especially with the practical effects. And it's like, man, this looks so real. I mean, it technically is real, but you know, like tangible effects, not just CGI.
Yeah,
So it like
I'm
adds to
more
it.
afraid of those movies than I am like
Yeah.
the cheesy serial killer ones or slasher
Oh,
flicks.
same here. Yeah, by
Yeah.
far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
give me something gross like that that isn't like Hostile, because I don't
Yeah.
those movies
Yeah.
don't
They don't do
appeal to
much
me.
for me. Yeah.
Or give me a unkillable monster
Ooh.
like Alien. And
Yes.
yeah, because the first two, every once in a while, I'll get in a kick and I'm gonna watch all the Alien movies, even though I've
Yeah.
seen them all a bunch of times. And I'll
Yep.
watch Alien 1 and 2 and I'll go, yes. And then I'll
Yes.
watch Alien 3 and I go, well,
Yeah.
I'm like, well, time to watch Resurrection. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so funny that you mentioned that because I've been wanting to do a full on Alien kick again. It's been a really long time since I've even seen that third and fourth one. Um, like man, the first time I saw the third one, I was a kid, and my older cousins, I think, like just recently bought it on VHS, and they every time they put it on, I got this feeling of like lethargy, like because it's so the colors in the movie are very like brown and orange and like
Yeah.
hot. Like it just feels like God, I'm tired of watching this. But I'll be interested to see how I feel about it if I rewatch it now. I may still feel the same.
It
Yeah.
definitely, it's hard to watch them all in a row because yeah,
Yeah.
the appeal of the first two is you
Mm,
feel like it looks so good even now. Like
yes.
it looks like what they wanted futuristic stuff to be at that time, but it looks so
Yeah.
nice.
And
But
it's
yeah,
magnificent.
3 and 4 drops off. If you want to watch a really bad one,
Yeah.
watch Alien versus Predator 2.
I haven't seen that. I've seen the first one. I've never seen that second one. That's funny. Okay.
It
I'll have to
is the
watch it.
quality of a made for TV movie.
Oh boy. When did that one come out?
Like 3 or 4 years after Alien
After?
vs Predator 1.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
And
Yeah,
there's a
I missed
reason
that
they
one.
didn't make a third one.
Okay. No wonder. That's funny. I'll have to track it down.
But it does have the because if at the end of Alien vs Predator 1,
Hmm.
the predator gives birth to an alien. So there is
Yeah.
a predator alien in that movie.
In that.
It's
Oh,
just it's just
interesting.
not good.
Oh boy. I'll be looking forward to that in a comedic way, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's either free on Amazon Prime or it's super cheap.
Okay.
Because I've
That's fair.
definitely watched it a few times. I will bring people over and I'll make them watch it.
That's a that's funny.
Watch this train wreck.
That's a good, yeah. Oh man, I actually I love movies like that for that kind of purpose where it's like we're all in on the fun here. Let's enjoy yeah, let's enjoy this train wreck and make it a fun
My
night.
my absolute favorite one to do that to people with is, have you ever seen Virus?
No, and I've always wanted to. I remember seeing the VHS cover like back then and like blockbusters and stuff, but I've never seen it.
It's the most amazing, terrible movie you'll ever
Ooh,
see.
okay.
Because the thing is, if you like body horror and
Yes.
you like cybernetics, it's
Yeah.
the movie, and bad movies. It's the movie for you because it's
Wow.
I can't remember what the full backstory is, but there's a boat and an electric storm hits it, which
Hmm.
makes an alien virus go through all the machines, who then
Whoa.
kill all the people and wear their skin.
That's amazing.
And it the way the thing is, it looks almost practical horror. It doesn't look like CGI, so it
Okay.
looks grotesque.
Ooh.
But it is a bad movie.
Yeah, yeah,
but it's
okay. I appreciate that
it's
though.
one of those things where you can't, it's like a car wreck, you can't turn
Yeah,
away.
can't look away.
Yeah, so Virus is like my number one. Like if I have people around, I'm like, watch this.
I gotta check that out. I have a feeling even throughout how bad it will be that it could be one of those movies that I might write a Memorrhage song about just based on how your description of it. I love like
It would
writing
fit.
little things about yeah, like thematically, that's cool. Yeah.
It's also it is funny because that exact description I just gave it, the so bad you make other people watch it,
Yeah.
is the same way it's described by the lead actress of the movie.
Oh my.
Who's
That's funny.
oh my god, what is her name? Who's the Halloween lady?
Jamie Lee
Yeah,
Curtis.
Jamie Lee
Yeah.
Curtis is the
Oh,
lead
she's in
in
it.
Virus.
Wow. Okay.
And she's like, they're like, what movie from your career would you make people watch that's so bad? And they're like, she's like, Virus.
That's an endorsement. That's
Yeah.
that's that's really funny. I will definitely track it down. Yeah.
Ah. All right. So, is there anything else you would like to plug, or like tell everyone where they can find you?
Yeah. Um, so I guess kind of the social media aspect, you can find me on like Twitter, .com/Gonemage, or Instagram, with the same handle, Gonemage. Those are kind of the two main social media um platforms I've been using. In terms of like finding Memorrhage music directly. I kind of have you could call it like a master Bandcamp page where it has all of my projects past and almost all of my projects past and present, dating back to about 2007. I don't have everything on there, but almost everything. And that is lilangisla.bandcamp.com,
Okay.
and that's LILANGISLA .bandcamp.com, and you'll find Memorrhage right at the top there for sure. So yeah, those are the best places to find me.
And I will put all those links in the description so it'll be easier for people to
Oh,
click.
nice. Thank you.
But
Cool.
uh but yeah, so I remember there were CDs and there were cassettes. Are those all gone now?
Yes, those are the CDs and tapes did sell out last week, sometime last week.
Mm-hmm.
Might bug the label into making possibly a second pressing of either or both of those in the future, maybe this year, probably this year. I don't know for sure, but we'll see. Um, and then vinyl. So the vinyl situation is so even though the album came out on June 16th,
Mm-hmm.
the vinyl is still in a pre-order stage only because vinyl pressing plants are on huge back orders of delay.
I've been told
And
that.
yeah, and it's kind of crazy. To be honest, me as a consumer of music, physically, I haven't really been buying vinyl that much lately because of that. But there's people who stick by it, which good for them. And that vinyl is estimated to be done at the plant late this year. And so there are currently like 20-ish pre-order spots for the Memorrhage vinyl. Now this is a bit of a spoiler, but even though there's like 20-ish spots left, like if you go to memorrhage.bandcamp.com, that's the allotment there.
Mm-hmm.
There will be more down the pipeline. I can't give full details yet, but there are more than what's being advertised, only because there's going to be another label involved with a different variants of vinyl
Oh,
pressings.
different
Yeah,
colors and stuff.
different colors, yeah, different
Okay.
colors and stuff like that. But all of that is going to be done at the end of the year in terms of coming off the pressing plant and shipping out, hopefully December, January. Yeah.
Excellent. But okay, thank you for coming on,
Yeah.
and everyone go check out Memorrhage. Listen to that album. Seriously, listen to the album.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for having
Okay,
me.
absolutely not a problem. But okay, see you guys later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Have a good one.